That's kind of the way that I've tried to approach it with WRP stuff, and certainly with Trinity as well. Like, I've kind of never done it for the money. It's like I'm doing it because I'm a bike rider. So I want a product that's going to be really good. But in saying that, I think that's where the most authentic stuff comes, because it's like, well, you're doing it for the right reasons then. But I think a lot of Europeans kind of take it for granted. It's just like, oh, it's just a race down the road and it's a World Cup. It's like, it'll always be there. I could do it next year. Whereas Aussies, desperation is probably the wrong word, but for lack of a better term, it creates a bit of desperation. It's like, if we're gonna do this thing. Well, like the Chad Reed type of guys.
Yeah, it's all or nothing. You're burning the boats. At some
you're just
point.
like, let's just send it.
I met a gypsy.
Yeah, like it's like the diameters are probably pretty thin, but you're right. Like, as far as it's like axle to crown, and it's like, I'd imagine it's a 200mm fork or thereabouts.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I could be just way out of my depth, but I like, honestly, if you could make a custom frame and that, I wouldn't be surprised if guys would run it for Supercross.
Yeah.
Some lighter weight, shorter stroke. Stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could see it. I could really see it.
Even air shocks, man, because air shocks are super progressive.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, the air shocks in moto just haven't
taken
off.
off.
WP's been working on them for a long time.
Right.
I think that downhill and moto are different in that, like, you're not riding a downhill bike for 30 plus 2.
That's true.
Like, you're only really getting like 4 or 5 minutes before that thing gets to cool down.
Oh, true. I've never thought about that. Just the heat that it... But that's actually a really good point. Hey?
Yeah, so I think that's probably the struggle that they have on motocross bikes. And you got to think, I don't know whether... I'm not an engineer, but you'd have to think like the weight and the air that's have, like the compression that would be, or the pressure that would build up as a result of the weight. Like, once you add a rider to that dirt bike, like, that air shock is probably having to deal with 200 kilos.
Yeah. Well, it's really the amount of like the heat build up just changes the spring characteristics so much. I've never really thought about that. That's a really good point.
Yeah. So I think that is probably why you don't see the air shocks in, like, because Dunge did them. Like, see if you can find a pic. Don't get rid of that. We'll probably come back to it.
Because Eli was running one.
Eli was? I don't know. I don't know that KYB's ever done it. Be like Ryan Dungey air shot,
Cooper Webb one run last year, I think, for a bit.
Yeah, he ran one in Super,
Yeah.
Oh, Barsha did? Yeah.
Oh, maybe it was Barsha I was thinking of.
So, see that?
Yeah, wow. Look at the shock shaft diameter on that thing, dude. That is a behemoth.
Hectic.
Yeah. Well, WP are starting to make, rumoured anyway, starting to make mountain bike stuff.
Oh,
and they
sick.
will change the game if they do.
In
my opinion, yeah, I really do.
Yeah, just having another big manufacturer in the game.
Yeah, I think it'll be good for everyone, because I think just the cross-disciplinary knowledge.
Yeah,
like
the learning that you can
a little bit like the Honda program, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
it makes a lot of sense. So go back to that Honda downhill bike. So I guess, like, when you said that there's a lot of inspiration that's come from that, like, what do you see in that bike that's like very unique for mountain biking?
Oh, the gearbox, 100%.
Yeah.
So what they had in here, well, it was really funny. So they had a couple of different iterations of that gearbox. And again, it was before my time, so a lot of this stuff is stuff that I've read or found out or whatever. But so they had, in the infancy of that gearbox, they had a CVT transmission, and they actually weren't allowed to race with it because CVT is effectively infinite amount of gears. And the UCI regs at the time, at least, stated that you had, I think it was 6 distinct gears.
Okay. So what's a CVT gearbox?
Like constant velocity transmission, like what you have in some cars.
Yeah, okay.
I think Hondas have a few of them, but you go in the internal workings. But basically, you've kind of got like cones, and like as the cones change or slide, you've got effectively a different diameter contacting one another,
which would give you a different
gives you a different a different gear ratio. But effectively, what you've got is like those cones can be anywhere on that surface, so it's effectively infinite range, or not infinite range. Sorry, you've got a defined bandwidth,
but in between the range, there's technically an infinite number of combinations.
And the UCI regs at the time, actually, this would this would be something for me to suss out at the moment, go through the UCI rule book. Because at the time, at least, it stated that you had to have a certain number of finite gears.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you can't run a CVT. So then there might have been some iterations in between then, but what they settled on was essentially just a cassette in a box.
Yeah.
So what you would normally have at the rear wheel is they've got in that black box in the middle.
Yeah.
Now, Honda should have changed the world in mountain biking. I think they were in it for a defined period of time for their moto program or whatever they're in it for, and then stepped away, and then everyone else never really caught up, and they were just like, oh, well, we can keep on marching on how we're going.
Because that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, dude.
And there's still, it's not like the thing.
Yeah.
And they won everything.
Yeah, I mean, it had a couple of drawbacks after speaking to some guys that were on it. So Greg Menard was on it.
Yeah.
Brendan Faircloth was on it.
I didn't know Faircloth was on it.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on it. Man, there is some, because he was relatively young at the time.
Yeah.
There's some footage of him right on that thing, and it is out of control.
Let's look for it.
So good,
Brendan
man.
Faircloth Honda, I want to see that shit.
He's a good route. Yeah, there'll be some stuff on YouTube for sure.
Yeah.
Just swinging off it. So one of the things with that was that, like, and this like tips over to another product that I've got for sale, but like you could change gears whenever you wanted on that thing, but it meant that the drivetrain was constantly moving, which was really good. But a couple of guys that had ridden it were saying that like when it got super muddy, you could actually feel the drag in the gearbox because you're dragging that chain through mud and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially what they've got is just a cassette in a case, and that's what I've been working on the last couple of years with Trinity. So like it's not a carbon copy of theirs, but basically I've got a cassette in a box on our Trinity, which is pretty cool because it's kind of a lot of inspo from the RN01. So
yeah. We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.